The funny part is I just hit record. It's recording here.
All good.
So now we got to start all over.
All right, let's do it. This is cool setup.
Yeah, man. And we're back. Russell Thomman's in the house.
Howdy, howdy.
All right, so got your own business now.
Yes.
And you were saying you were 16 years in the landscape architect world, right?
Yep. Planner, landscape architect.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now you've been licensed for 7. You're here at the ASLA Texas Conference. You're getting some credits, right?
CEUs. Got to have them.
Got to keep it going.
Yep.
So, before I forgot to hit the record button, it is the worst podcast. So we were talking. I met you when you were at Bury, and then it became Stantec, and then are you still in Austin? I take it, right?
Yeah, I live in Austin, out by Lake Travis.
Okay, cool. And then when did you make this leap to saying, "Hey, I'm starting my own business"? Let's talk a little bit about what that is.
Sure.
And what you're doing.
Mentally, I made this leap a decade ago.
Really?
Physically, I made the leap in November of last year.
Okay.
But I've always had call it a curiosity with technology.
Yeah.
And kind of a passion to explore ideas. And I was at RBI Planning in Austin from 19 to when I quit. And they really enabled me to kind of have an understanding of what this is. They had hired me as the director of digital innovation with kind of a hybrid role between doing as a planner and landscape architect, and then the other half of the role was training, internal advocacy, research and development, business development, exploration of new ideas, and then kind of blowing those through the whole firm.
Right.
And I had always kind of wrestled with the idea of going on my own and offering technology as a service. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. With half the business is kind of broken up for consulting. So for specific to landscape architects, we're so busy doing plans, doing design, doing all the things that we're already overwhelmed with. I help companies take a broad look at what's going on with technology. Artificial intelligence, drones, virtual reality, spatial exploration, you name it. My social media timeline research, suggested articles are all super nerdy, Star Wars-ish.
Yes.
Yeah, like technology stuff.
So
right?
I had briefly, one second. Hey, can you double check, make sure that thing's still recording? It says record. Okay, good. So you wrote an article very recently, I just read it, about AI.
Yeah.
The one that, was it yesterday? Or
I posted it yesterday. I was declined by National ASLA for a speaking opportunity. They go through their selection process, and I was unfortunately not selected.
Yeah.
But I did an experiment with AI. I used ChatGPT back in February?
This year.
Of this year.
Sure.
So ChatGPT had been out 2 or 3. If you don't know what ChatGPT is, it's kind of AI Google search, and it scours the internet. Its data really only goes to like late 2021. So if you're asking for current events, it's not super relevant in that version that was out in January. The new one out that came out in early March is now more current. But the one I was using, basically concurrently I was writing a submission with 4 other guys to give a talk on innovation disruption in our industry, right, for National ASLA. And we spent, each of us, probably 5 hours kind of putting together an outline, wordsmithing, going back and forth. So a collective maybe 20 hours together, half week of manpower. And for the one with ChatGPT, I asked it the same question. So I posed a topic of what is AI doing to disrupt design, construction, landscape architecture. It spit out, 3 seconds, spit out an entire paragraph. So that was the thesis for the submission.
Okay.
So from that point, I took that all I did was retype in the next sentence that says, rephrase this above paragraph in a bulleted outline format. 3 seconds, spit it out. Then I asked it, okay, I need a statement on how this topic relates to diversity, equity, inclusion. 3 seconds, spit it out. And all I was doing is copy and pasting this into the template. I wanted to see if it could do it. And then I get to the end of it and I'm like, I'm going to submit this. And my plan was all along, not tell anybody about it.
Sure.
If I was selected, use AI to take those subtopics and then use the AI, same process to populate an entire hour-long presentation. Totally relevant, right? So ultimately, I was not. Right before Q&A, I was going to say, "Oh, by the way, none of this was my content. It was all 100% AI-driven. So if you want to talk about disruption, let's go into Q&A." And I learned a tremendous amount.
Wow.
In that process. So the whole point, neither topic was selected, by the way. So take this with a grain of salt how successful it was. But I took the 1,200 minutes that it took a team of 4 to put together this outline. I took it to 10 minutes. So same thing with following that same week that I was doing all this, I needed to write a cover letter because I started a new business. I got a new client, and I'm like, man, I'm going to be such a pro here and write a cover letter. And I'm like, what do I write? Kind of have a writer's block. So I go into ChatGPT and I said, hey, write a cover letter for a new client for, it was that time drone services. And I'm like, okay, so it spit it out, gave me like 3 paragraphs of content. That one I did not copy paste, but I used it as a starting point.
Yeah, to get the juices flowing, the creative juices.
I used the same thing when I was building my website. You could do the same thing for building in a content presentation.
Yeah.
I saw one yesterday where you can use ChatGPT to plan vacations on a budget. Like, you just ask it questions and it spits out answers. Now it's on you to come back as a human and put some logic to it, put some context to it, relevance to it.
It's so crazy to me.
I used it to write a 10-point social media plan for advocating for drone use and land development.
So
it's a cool tool.
Let's talk about your Instagram account. It is, what's it called?
Second Spatial.
And that's the name of your company, right?
Yep.
So you started that, and then you actually are speaking today at 2 o'clock, are you not?
Tomorrow 2 to 3:30.
Oh, 2 to 3:30, and what are we talking about?
Talking drones.
Nice.
Yeah, it's my first health, safety, welfare accredited presentation.
Is it?
Yeah.
Cool.
I usually just sit up there and talk and hope people show up.
Dang it.
I can offer a seat to you.
I was hoping you were doing it today because I have to leave tomorrow to go to Galveston. I want some of the stuff y'all talk about. I mean, it may not be relevant, but it's kind of cool to know.
Yeah, it's pretty relevant. I mean, there's so many. Part of the reasons I wanted to start this company.
Let me rephrase. Relevant to my line of work with playgrounds.
Yeah, outside of photography. I mean, but you could.
Actually, you're right.
Hypothetically, if you have a new playground and your designers are looking at context of what they're designing in, you could fly a automated, not even 30-minute mission and capture all of the site context for what you're doing. Because this is one of the whole points of drones, and what I speak on a lot is how many designers work on projects that they never put a freaking foot to. Like,
you make a really good point.
So a lot of what I do is shoot all this content that gives designers context. Okay. So even like, if you're a landscape architect in Dallas and you win a job in Tyler,
right?
And you've got let's say a team of 4 working on a project. Most of the time, all 4 people with billable hours are not going to go to that project.
It's true,
right? So you're going to have a lead designer, project manager go out there together. You're going to have a principal designer maybe go. So a lot of drone work that I do will be, I call them virtual site tours. So I'll recreate Google Earth Street View essentially for our projects.
Okay.
So if you're even if you were doing a playground rehab, if you wanted to document access, if you wanted to document grades, if you wanted to document sun angles, I mean, there's so much you could do with creating all this content. And it doesn't have to be drones. It could be on the ground photography. This is first podcast. I've done some video,
like Zoom calls,
Zoom presentations, but this is the first one that'll be archived
with the headphones and all that.
Yep.
All right, good. Got another newbie here. I love doing it. I'm glad you took the time, and guess what? We're out.
Nice.
Got a little
Thanks for
class.
having me.
That's good. All right.